So hi everyone, I'm Cynthia from Empower to Free, and welcome to today's session of Is Finding Meaningful Work Important? So thanks for coming, and I have with me here Coen from TransBefrienders to share his story. Coen, maybe you want to introduce yourself and share a bit of what you do at TransBefrienders. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Hi, Christina, and hi, Serene. I'm Coen, the founder and executive director of TransBefrienders. We are a peer support service for transgender youth in Singapore. So our main program is befriending, and we also have a study support scheme for transgender youth. And you guessed it, I'm transgender as well. So I kind of know it since very young that I'm different from the rest. So ever since I have knowledge of gender, I would say about 3 to 4 years old, that's where I felt very different. I do not identify with the body parts I have. And it has always been that way, and then when puberty hits, mine came very early. It was about 9 years old. I was 9 years old when my puberty hits. So then looking at what my body is transitioning into from a very different one that I thought I will, it really plunged me into, quite, I was very upset with myself. That turns into anxiety and then later depression. And afterwards, I had suicidal ideation and attempted suicide. And back then I didn't know what it is. I did not have the language to put it because it was in the days whereby internet is a luxury. It is what it is now. So I didn't have I didn't know what is it called and all that until much later. When I was in secondary school, I have internet. I just searched, and then came out the word gender dysphoria, transsexual, and sex reassignment surgery. So that's where I know I can change my gender through, surgery, through treatments. And then at the same time, I met a trans woman online who actually guided me along, tell me which doctor to look for, give me the resources to really further my knowledge of the transgender community. So I am very grateful to this woman, this trans woman, and I thought there are a lot more trans youth out there who is going through the same thing as me. So that's why I thought of this trans woman. What she did with me is very powerful. So I set up TransBefriender to go out befriending the way this woman has befriended me. So that's why I enjoy doing what I enjoy doing what I'm doing with at TransBefrienders. Thanks to this woman as well.
Could you share a bit about the youth you work with, their demographics, their age, and what does befriending look like?
Okay, so our target youth is 16 to 25. And we hope that we can go younger, but that would require parental consent. Unfortunately, that's Singapore. So I can't really say much about that. So we do befriend 16 to 20 years old. And we sort of go out to befriend them. So we just just text them online. We started with Telegram. So the Telegram messaging app, because a lot of these youth, they are not comfortable hearing their own voice. So calling is not an option. So, for example, like if this youth is born like assigned female at birth, he will not have the confidence to speak because his voice would not have broken yet. Now, we can do that with treatments. So we undergo like hormone replacement treatment, and our voice will actually deepen. So for this youth, they do not have this treatment yet. They will not be comfortable, speaking to someone. Some of them may not be comfortable meeting up in person. So we do it through online means, like we have Telegram messaging. We also do Discord. I think for the gamers, they will have this Discord account. So yes, we go out, we chat with them. We if they are comfortable with us, they can also meet us in person at our center.
So as the executive director of TransBefrienders, right, other than keeping up to date with what IT technology the youth use, like Discord and Telegram, what else do you do in your work?
Okay, so we do support parents as well, parents of trans youth. A lot of them, they prefer the other means, so they prefer to meet face to face. They prefer to talk on the phone. So we do support them as well. But of course, we do partner other community partners to help us, befriend these parents. Yeah. So one of them is Safe Singapore. Yeah. So they deal with the family of LGBT folks, and that includes the parents of trans folks as well. Yeah.
So as the executive director, right, I get that you have to you're probably, I'm guessing you're probably enjoying the front end work where you work with the youth directly, with the parents, and also with partners. Is there any part of your work that you don't like? Maybe the functions, or I'm not really sure how big is your team and all that. Yeah.
Right, no worries. Right now we have about 30 volunteers. I hope 300, but yeah, right now we are a small group. It's only 30 volunteers. I mean, of course, there are things that I would not enjoy doing, like filing annual returns, the paperwork things. But all this mundane job, it doesn't matter when youth come back to us after befriending, telling us that this program works for them, and they're very thankful. Some of them even donated to us, as a way of thanking us. Yeah. So this thing actually, overrides the mundaneness of paperwork. Yeah. So yeah.
Could you go and maybe share with us a memory of the work you do with TransBefrienders that is one of your fondest memories?
Okay. So there are many actually, but yeah, one particular one is that there's this trans youth who isolated herself. She would not step out of her house. She has stopped school. She has dropped out of school because her parent is actually quite hostile towards her transitioning. So we had to make trips down to her house to talk to the parents and sort of mediate things between the trans youth and her parent. And that is something new to us. We have never done that, but we prove ourselves that we can overcome this challenge of talking to this parent. So that was I think it was very memorable when the parents sort of start to be aware of what gender dysphoria is, and starting to accept her child, being, undergoing the hormone replacement treatment. HRT in short.
So I've been hogging the question, so I'll probably now open the floor to Serene and Christina to ask. So feel free to come off mute and ask your questions, but maybe Coen, Christina did type in the chat this question. Does your organization come off neutral with their sexual position or encourage coming out as transgender?
Okay. Yeah, that is a very good question. Yes, our organization will come off as neutral first, because we do not push every youth that come to us to identify as trans. That's not what we want. We will let the youth sort of explore themselves, but we can guide them through if they, for example, they are unsure whether they want to transition or not. So then we will ask, what's the reason for transitioning? Why do they feel this way? So we sort of like coach them to find the answers themselves, rather than pushing them to come out. Okay, no, you are trans. I know that. No, you don't do that. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Christina, is that your question? And maybe if you'd like to elaborate a bit more, that might be helpful. Okay, yeah. So Christina has another question. Is there an interesting story you'd like to share from your experience working with youth?
Okay. So yes, there are many actually, but one particular incident where the youth just couldn't decide whether to have to transition or not, or whether to go for surgery or not. In fact, a lot of the youth they want to jump into surgery without really understanding what they will be going through. So then we had to sort of inform them of the consequences of going for surgery first, because surgery is non-reversible. So we will tell them explore themselves, explore their body, see what pleasures them, and that's very it's an interesting way to befriend youth and advise them, but unfortunately that's what we need to do for youths like that, because a lot of the youth they just want to focus on changing their gender, but they don't realize what they are doing to their body.
TransBefrienders, volunteers and workers, right? I guess if you have lived experience of being a transgender, that would be helpful, and also being able to empathize with the youth that you work for. Would non-transgender people be able to work in your organization, and how would it be different in your views?
So we do have non-transgender persons in our organization, but I would prefer our befrienders to be trans themselves, because they will understand the nuances of going through the process. They know what to look out for, they know what to advise. But for non-transgender person, I call them cisgender, they will hold different roles. So like most of our tutors, so we have a study support scheme. We also have tuition classes. So our tutors, most of them are not transgender persons, so they are cisgender. Because they do not need to really understand what the trans people is going through to be able to teach them. But we do give them sort of like a crash course to understand, what the transgender community go through, what pronouns to actually address them, what to ask, what question to ask, and things like that. So yes, we do have cisgender people in our organization.
Serene and Christina, if you have more questions, feel free to ask. But in the meantime, I'll ask my next question, which is, so Coen, I'm not sure how long you've been the executive director at TransBefrienders. In your journey, right, what were some of the things that you had to learn on the go? Or if you look back and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know that and I've learned that through the job.
Mm. I would say most of them are dealing with bureaucracy. So I wasn't prepared to do that because I thought I just want to set up something, to help people, but I did not expect such a big hurdle to get my organization registered. Yeah. So what happened was that we had to be linked up to a minister to sort of like have them approve our application to set up as a non-profit. And that actually, if I did not have the network, I don't think anyone would be able to do that. Yeah, because what I did is that the first time I sent in the application, it got it not. So for one whole year, I didn't hear any answers. I had to, pull some strings and then try to get people to help me through the process. Yeah, so that's something I had to learn. I had to adapt and be flexible. Yeah.
What were some of the mindsets that you had to change? Like now that you know you need to network a bit more, pull some strings, what were some of the other mindsets that you had to kind of change along the way?
I think I think I was quite naive that the of how the Singapore system works. I didn't know Singapore is so, so much is controlled by the government. So now whenever I want to do something, I have to work with the government rather than against them. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's how Singapore works. If you go against the government, you won't be able to achieve a lot of things. Yeah. So I've changed this mindset whereby, I need to work with the government rather than against. Yeah.
So, Coen, if someone else younger now comes on and say, Coen, I want to do what you are doing, what would be your advice to them or suggestions or tips?
Okay. So I think having a very clear goal of what you want is very important. At the same time, you need to look around you, what's in the community already, and complement their services. Yeah, because there are a few people that I met who just want to do what they want to without looking at their surrounding. So then there's clashes in the services they offer. That promotes rivalry sometimes. So that can be quite nasty. So if you want to do something to help the community, do it for the community, not for self gratification. Yeah.
And often that's what we get, right? Like doing good in the social sector, there's always that challenge where people think that, because you're in the do good sector, you should be doing more good. But then at the same time, people in the sector feel like there's some rivalry because we're all trying to do good. So I want to do more good than you and all that. So how do you balance that and kind of say, this is what TransBefrienders is standing for. This is what so and so is standing for. We are different, but yet at the same time, there's no rivalry, but really trying to do good for the community, as you said.
Yeah, I would say knowing your community is very important. Yeah. So for example, TransBefrienders works with T Project a lot. They are also a trans led organization, but they provide shelter services. They provide I think I forgot what's the other one, but yes,
I know provide food and all that as
food,
well.
yes, yeah. So yeah, it's very different from what TransBefrienders is doing. We are also targeting youth, whereas T Project it's sort of caters to a wider range of transgender folks. Yeah.
So Christina had a question around what's the shelter services about. So I know a little bit about T Project, but I think Coen, you'll probably be better answering this question.
So yes, unfortunately, a lot of the trans folks do get kicked out of home, or they left their house, they left home to transition. So a lot of them will end up homeless, and T Project comes in to house them. So that's the shelter services I'm talking about. Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of this session. Maybe Coen, if I could just ask you to share and conclude on this question of how important is finding meaningful work to you?
To me, it's more of to sustain the work that I'm doing. It's very important that it is meaningful, so that I won't feel burnt out doing it, because I know a lot of people in the social service sector actually burn out a lot. So if it's not meaningful, I think burnout will set in way earlier, than it is. So to me, it is very important that this job is very meaningful. Yeah.
We have come to the end of the session. So I will pop into the chat now Coen's social details, if that's what they call them these days. And I mean, when I heard you talk about Discord, I was like, oh, that's very, very different. So transbefrienders.com is the website. You can go on there to find out more about the social service organization that Coen works for. And Coen has also kindly given us his email address. So if you have any further questions for him, feel free to drop him an email. I think at the last session, he promised that he will try to reply within the same day, if not within the week. So Christina and Serene, do you have any last burning questions for Coen? Feel free, to still ask. If not, thank you very much for joining us this evening.